I think this is the only plan that everyone has. This is the roadmap. This is not only the United States idea. I think both Israel and Lebanon agree on this. The question is how to enforce it and what would be the timetable. The Lebanese are insisting the timetable be fixed, and the Israelis are saying no, it has to be performance based. Once you prove yourself after taking over a certain territory, then we'll hand you another territory and on and on. So they're fleshing out the details, but I think this is the best roadmap that we have, of course, short of doing it the Hezbollah and the Iran way.
Well, the key condition is that Hezbollah does not return. Is that actually enforceable in your opinion? How realistic is this?
Because we call them pilot zones, this suggests that this is an experiment that the two sides are conducting. I think CENTCOM will be the referee here, and if CENTCOM judges that Hezbollah did not return in a reasonable way, then Israel will move on and hand over other territory. But the point here is that unlike past promises, the Lebanese government can't just promise or just pretend that Hezbollah was disarmed or Hezbollah was not coming back. That if Lebanon wants its territory back, it has to show the receipt. It has to prove that it has disarmed Hezbollah in a credible way.
Now let's talk about the nuclear facilities in Iran and the planned inspections. We're hearing completely different messages from Tehran and the IAEA. What should we make of this confusion?
This confusion is across the board. It's not only over the nuclear issue. If you listen to US statements, you would think that Iran is now buying corn and soya beans from the United States. If you listen to Iranian statements, you would think that America is shutting down its bases in the Gulf and leaving and handing over the keys to Iran. So no one knows what's really happening. But most of the time, other than the removal of the US naval blockade and Iran opening of Hormuz, I haven't seen any tangible results on anything else.
And how critical are these inspections to any deal actually working?
Well, look, I think we have to agree what the inspections are exactly inspecting. The disagreement with Iran has always been over what they call their right to enrich uranium, something that President Trump himself pulled out of the deal because he didn't agree that this was an Iranian right. And the whole war started because the Iranian wouldn't relinquish what they call their right to enrich. Now, have we agreed that the Iranians are not enriching? Then the inspectors will go and make sure that no one is enriching. But what are they, I mean, without such an agreement, what are the inspectors inspecting exactly? The level of enrichment, no enrichment? We don't know.
Mm-hmm. Now, what does it mean that Iran is calling this deal an American defeat? Is it an American defeat, in your opinion?
And the United States is also calling it an Iranian defeat. It's like I
That's
said,
right.
you know, someone says they're buying American soybeans, and the other side says they're, you know, folding and leaving the region. Look, I don't see this as a victory for anyone or a defeat for anyone. I think
Mm-hmm.
what we have had so far is that the status quo has persisted, except for a ceasefire, removal of the blockade, opening of Hormuz. These 3 points have been achieved. All the other points are still contentious. There's a stalemate over everything else, which reminds me of the Gaza peace plan. You got 3 points at the top enforced. There was a ceasefire, exchange of
Mm-hmm.
prisoners and detainees, and that was it.
And Hamas has still not disarmed.
And Hamas is still not disarmed, and the status quo ante just prevails. My feeling is that this looks to be the case with Iran. We only achieved the top 3 points, and everything else will keep on saying, you know, each side will claim victory and accuse the other of defeat, or praise or be happy that the other side was defeated. But otherwise, we haven't seen anything move.
And how concerned should Israel be if that's the case?
Israel should be concerned the minute the Iranians bring their tractors and try to dig up the uranium, the uranium dust underneath the rubble. If Iran starts doing that, I think Israel should be really concerned. Until that happens, if the status quo prevails, I don't think there's any particular concern to Israel coming from Iran. However, there's still a lot of concern coming to Israel from the Lebanese border, which I think Israel is correctly still engaged in operating and making sure that Hezbollah does not rearm and regroup.
But if I have to ask you in really briefly in just 30 seconds, is Iran actually coming out of this stronger?
It doesn't look like to me that it's coming stronger. Of course, unless the United States decides to throw away all the successes that it achieved during the war.